Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Chula Vista. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. A council member who is facing criminal charges has resigned. And KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer joins us from the newsroom with the details. Jacob?
Andrea Cardenas has been the 4th District Councilwoman in Chula Vista until today, when she sent her colleagues a letter of resignation. We got a copy of that letter. In it, she said she's resigning effective immediately in order to prioritize her mental health and the health of her community. She said it's been an honor to work in the role and serve Chula Vista alongside her colleagues. This comes after months of controversy and accusations against her. They include grand theft, money laundering, and tax evasion. She faces felony charges, and her case is scheduled for a readiness conference in court tomorrow. Several Chula Vista city leaders had been calling on Cardenas to resign, including Mayor John McCann. He issued a statement saying the resignation of Councilmember Cardenas is appropriate given the seriousness of the criminal charges she faces and the difficulty of maintaining public trust. He said it's important to now move forward together to address the many challenges facing Chula Vista. Cardenas is still on next month's primary election ballot, and there are 6 people challenging her. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Thousands of California State University employees say yes to a new contract. It covers professors, librarians, counselors, and coaches. KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us the approval comes after months of negotiating and a couple of strikes.
The relentless rain January 22nd did not discourage members of the California Faculty Association from wading through wet picket lines for what turned out to be a one-day strike. CFA president and San Diego State professor Charles Toombs told us this on that day.
Our goal is that the CSU will understand how committed faculty are to a fair contract and that they come back to the table.
Negotiators did come back to the table with a tentative agreement that 29,000 CFA members voted on this past week. The online votes coming from all 23 campuses of the California State University system. 76% of union members voted yes.
The message is that we are a union.
Gloria Rhodes is CFA president of the SDSU chapter.
They've given us the opportunity to align with faculty, teaching faculty in numerous areas, and I really feel that we are supported.
The tentative agreement includes a 5% salary increase for all faculty, retroactive to July 1st of last year, and another 5% pay increase this July 1st, contingent on the state not reducing base funding to the CSU. Also raising the salary floor for the lowest paid lecturing faculty and increasing paid parental leave from 6 to 10 weeks. Almost a quarter of the union members voted against the agreement and made their disapproval known through social media on platforms that included X, formerly known as Twitter, and Facebook. Statements like, "What's the process for canceling my dues?" And the CFA has carried out a ballot that resembles democracy under a dictatorship. Leadership is committed to reaching out to those voices who spoke a very clear no.
Let us know why. Let us know how we can help the next time around. Let us know what we can do to bring you aboard, and what would it have taken for you to vote yes on this.
The terms of the agreement will go into effect once CSU trustees have approved it, but their next meeting is not scheduled until the end of March. So tonight, the CFA is urging trustees to call a special board meeting much sooner. MG Perez, KPBS News.
Meanwhile, more rain is on the way. KPBS reporter Melissa May tells us where and when the rain is expected to fall and how you can prepare for it.
A Pacific storm combined with a weak atmospheric river is making its way to San Diego County. National Weather Service meteorologist Brian Adams says Tuesday evening is when the weather could get interesting.
Definitely potentially plan for potentially a rude awakening overnight, since this will be an overnight rain event. There will still be some lingering rain, potentially at least in the moderate range for Wednesday morning as well. So definitely want to plan for a messy morning commute on Wednesday morning.
Up to an inch of rain per hour is expected at times overnight Tuesday. The heaviest rainfall is going to be in North County.
So closer to like Carlsbad, Oceanside, Fallbrook, areas like that.
And areas of East County.
Closer to like Alpine, Pine Valley, areas that are in the foothills of the mountains, they can cash in on a little bit more of those heavier rainfall totals.
He says flooding is possible.
We do still have a flood watch that runs through Wednesday. We do have high surf. We do still expect some breaking wave heights generally of like in around the 6 to 9 foot range. That's the kind of average.
Adams has this advice for preparing for the storm.
You definitely want to keep any sort of potential flood drainages, open and clear so that they're able to do what they're designed for. And obviously, since we do have some potentially heavy rain in the forecast, if you do encounter any areas of flooding while you're out and about, obviously you don't want to try and drive through that. Water is deceptively deep.
The city of San Diego says crews are clearing mud and debris from storm drains and sweeping the streets. Residents who live in low-lying areas are encouraged to take precautions ahead of the storm. Sandbags are available to pick up throughout the county at community centers and some fire stations. Melissa May, KPBS News.
A link to a full list of sandbag distributions is available on our website, kpbs.org. And 4 weeks after the last atmospheric river battered the state, we're getting a better idea of how extensive the damage is and how much it will cost to repair. We'll have that story in a few minutes.
Looking ahead, we are dropping down to a low of 58 tonight. Now, we are still talking about a shower or two later on, but the rain does not stop there. We are still in store for more rain to move into the area. You're going to want to stay tuned for that forecast. We're also going to take a look at where temperatures go throughout the rest of the week.
5 candidates are running for San Diego mayor in the March 5th primary, including incumbent Todd Gloria. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says all of the candidates say homelessness and housing affordability are among their top priorities.
In my first term as mayor, we passed 2 large housing action packages intended to help increase the amount of housing that's being built, particularly for working and middle-class families. But we have more work to do.
I meet Mayor Todd Gloria in North Park, across the street from a recently opened apartment building. This neighborhood is dotted with housing developments under construction. He says to make San Diego more affordable, the city needs a lot more housing. And he says the growth happening in North Park is thanks to the zoning changes he championed as a city council member 8 years ago.
It shows you how slow this process can be and why consistent, steady leadership is really necessary to make sure that the promises of these plans and the ideas behind them actually result in what we were hoping for, which is more housing that's attainable for working and middle-class people.
On homelessness, Gloria says he's added more shelter beds and 2 safe campsites on the outskirts of Balboa Park. And he says the camping ban he passed with the city council is helping keep tents off the sidewalks.
It's a balancing act. It's amongst the most difficult work that I have to do, but we're committed to doing this work, and our ability, our success in growing our offerings means that there are thousands of people who are not on the sidewalk today who would have been absent these efforts.
And I'm running for mayor because we need change. I recently became a mother. I have a 14-month-old toddler, and it is just getting increasingly harder to survive in San Diego.
Genevieve Jones-Wright is an attorney and one of Gloria's opponents. After running unsuccessfully for district attorney in 2018, she founded a nonprofit that files public interest lawsuits. She says Gloria's camping ban and a similar prohibition on living in cars are not helping the homelessness crisis.
I think what the city has done is it has moved people from one part of the city out of eyesight and onto asphalt and parking lots, and that is not a solution. We absolutely need to create more opportunities for shelter, but I also have to remind everyone that shelter beds and even tents on the street are not housing.
Jones-Wright agrees the city needs more housing, and she says stricter regulations on short-term home rentals would help deliver it.
We have so many homes and apartments that remain vacant for most of the year because they're short-term rental properties. And we have not had the political will to actually get a handle on that situation. That will free up a lot of housing.
We're going to start filling the convention center, all the hotels will be full, all the cafes will be full, and everyone's just going to be making a little bit more money.
Larry Turner is a Marine Corps veteran and San Diego police officer.
I just really see that our city is not the safe city that it should be. It's not the clean city it should be. It's not as compassionate as it should be for those that are living on the street.
I meet Turner outside the H Barracks, a former police and fire department training facility near the airport that Mayor Gloria wants to convert into a new homeless shelter for up to 700 people. Turner opposes that plan.
And I would go to the fact that it's only going to be around for a few years. I want to see something more permanent, and I don't want to give the people who have done a bad job for 3 years on this the opportunity to use some emergency powers to push something through really quick.
Turner declined to name a specific location where he'd prefer a new shelter, but he said there are lots of other options.
The city owns a lot of land, and the city can buy more land too. So there are plenty of places that we can look at. You know, and I've talked to some folks who used to work in the real estate office for the city, and we've talked about a lot of these places throughout the city.
Two additional candidates on the ballot, Jane Glasson and Dan Smiechowski, haven't raised significant funds and have a limited campaign presence. The top two vote-getters in the March 5th primary will compete in a runoff on November 5th. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Affordability has become a key issue in Chula Vista's District 3 City Council election. KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis spoke with some of the candidates in Southeast Chula Vista.
People who grew up in Chula Vista can't always afford to buy houses there. Not when the median price is more than $800,000.
I walk into homes where there's parents in their 50s and 60s and 70s, inabuelitos, grandparents, and they're 25 to 35-year-old children who are professionals with college degrees can't afford a home. A teacher or a nurse making $40,000 to $50,000 a year cannot buy a home.
That is City Council candidate Michael Insunza. He was born and raised in Chula Vista, and he currently works as a legislative advocate for the California School Boards Association. Besides affordability, public safety and homelessness are his other top concerns. Another candidate is Leticia Munguia. She's an employee and labors consultant with a history of advocating for working families.
New professionals are being priced out of the market, and I think it's absolutely critical that we maintain an element of affordability for our young professionals to be able to make Chula Vista their home.
She wants to bring more services to East Chula Vista, and she wants to make it easier to open new businesses in the city. Accountability is another top issue, especially since Councilmember Andrea Cardenas was charged with fraud in federal court.
So number one, Andrea Cardenas needs to resign now. She should have resigned months ago.
Cardenas has ignored public calls for her resignation. Instead, she chose to run for re-election in District 4. Munguia says Cardenas has become a distraction.
The community must come first in every decision you make as a council member, and ultimately as a candidate it should be about the residents you're about to serve.
Other candidates in the race include David Alcaraz, Daniel Rice Vasquez, and Christos Corgan. None of them responded to questions for this story. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
And the story was reported before news broke late this afternoon that Cardenas had resigned from the council. Ukraine is running low on weapons and munitions as it defends itself from Russian invasion. One reason for the lack of supplies, Congress's inability to pass an aid package. And this comes as the Kremlin recently overtook a key city from Ukraine. John Lawrence reports.
President Joe Biden says the U.S. can't turn its back on Ukraine and its war against Russia.
And the idea that now, when they're running out of ammunition, we walk away, I find it absurd. I find it unethical.
The Senate passed a $95 billion foreign aid bill last week, with $60 billion earmarked for Ukraine.
We are counting on this positive decision of the Congress. For us, this package is vital.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer released a statement Sunday demanding that House Speaker Mike Johnson and House Republicans pass the funding bill following the death of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny.
We must show Putin that he must pay a price for the death of Navalny. And the best price the U.S. can make Putin pay is to give Ukraine the help they need to fend off Putin's evil aggressions.
Johnson and others in the GOP have issues with the bill, saying it lacks provisions for migrants trying to enter the U.S.
The number one national security issue facing America today is our insecure, unsafe, and wide open southern border.
Schumer posting on social media, the bill is, quote, sitting on Speaker Johnson's desk while Putin waits to see if the U.S. will act. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The House of Representatives is in recess until the end of the month. President Biden blasted House lawmakers, calling their two-week vacation, quote, outrageous. As we brace for more rain in San Diego County, heavy rainfall today forced road closures to our north. According to the Weather Prediction Center, the heaviest rain fell in Ventura County. Several lanes of the 101 highway were closed due to flooding. More than 37 million people in California were under flood alerts. The atmospheric river that battered California earlier this month has caused extensive damage across the state. One report estimates the damage to be in the billions of dollars. Kayla Moeller has that report.
$11 billion. That's how much just one atmospheric river is costing California, according to a report, after barreling through the state in early February. Locally, that number is at least 12 million. And now Sacramento County has declared a state of emergency for the February 4th storm.
The big price tag right now was the damage done to the electricity grid.
So Sac County is asking for help from FEMA and state funding.
We had about 150 downed trees over the storm. We had some damage done in our culvert areas. So, we're looking at the drainage systems that were hit hard.
The county says they're as ready as they can be for this weekend's storm. But tell me the redeeming factor in all this is that we've had a break between storms. So it'll give the ground a chance to absorb a lot of that water that's coming our way.
Once the storm has passed, we'll assess the situation, go out, look at flood areas, look at how many trees, the damage, and then turn to the board and say, we feel it's time to declare an emergency. If you need sandbags, we have 4 sandbag locations open.
The county supplies the sand and the bags, so all you need to do is bring a shovel.
Within a week or two after every large windstorm, rain or not, we start to get the calls.
A contractor who came out to assess the damage of a tree that fell on a Curtis Park home says while water is one culprit, wind is the real threat.
Water first, loosen the ground. If it just rains, it's probably okay most of the time, but once you got a couple of storms and then you get the high winds, ground can't hold the tree anymore and it gets pushed over.
He says his company is currently working on 20 to 30 similar cases from the storm, and this one isn't even the biggest one.
We always look at it like this. As long as no one got hurt, I could rebuild every building all day long.
Well, let's start you off with your weather headlines, what you need to know as we head throughout the week. It is still going to be wet, and that's going to be the story throughout the middle of the week. Though, good news, we are drier Thursday into Friday. Though we aren't done with the action, we are tracking another Pacific storm set to make its way back into the area, increasing those precipitation chances early next week. As for the here and now, again, we're still talking about those showers, which is why we do have flood watches in effect across the region through Wednesday morning. So heads up, if you do encounter any flooding, ponding on the roadways, never drive to those areas, folks. Turn around, don't drown. Again, it only takes a little bit of water to sweep you and your car off the road. Stay weather aware and stay safe. It's not just the flooding we're concerned about, it's also that high surf. We have high surf advisories there along the coast, and that's going to stay into effect through Tuesday night. As for tonight, what's on tap across the region? Well, again, those showers are going to start to roll through. Oceanside, you're seeing a shower or two with a low of 58. Similar story in San Diego. Now, those clouds will stay socked into Mount Laguna, and we'll even see a few clouds roll in through Borrego Springs with a low of 52. As for tomorrow, that rain does stick around, especially there along the coast from Oceanside to San Diego. That's where we're going to be tracking those showers. Again, heads up, flooding is still going to be possible with a high of 63. As we make our way a little bit further inland, highs running in the 70s in Borrego Springs. Let's time out this rain for you, kind of show you how this is going to look. Again, we're going to get that next surge of moisture pushing into the region later on tonight into early tomorrow. So just in time for that early morning commute around 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, Oceanside to San Diego. It's going to be a wet go of things. Make sure you are staying safe on the roads. As for Tuesday afternoon, when we aren't done with the rain, again, it is going to hug the coast into the inland valleys as well. But as we head into late Tuesday, that rain's going to spread even through the mountains into the deserts as well. And that's going to be the story even waking up Wednesday with a quick shower or two across the region. And then we do start to dry out again as we head into Thursday and Friday. Let's take a look at the next 5 days. Again, it is going to be rainy here along the coast. Highs going to be in the mid-60s. We'll see a slight warm up Thursday and Friday. Similar story further inland. 62 for the high on Wednesday. 70 again by Friday. Again, don't forget that umbrella heading out the door. You don't want to be caught under a quick shower. Even for the mountains, a morning shower is still possible by Wednesday with a high of 39. We'll rise back up to the 40s there by the end of the week. As for the deserts, periods of sun, high 72. Friday 72. And we'll rinse and repeat for Saturday. For KPBS, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
And here's another look at today's top stories. Andrea Cardenas has resigned from the Chula Vista City Council effective immediately. She sent a letter of resignation to her colleagues today saying she made the decision in order to prioritize her mental health. Cardenas faces felony charges including grand theft, money laundering, and tax evasion. She's still on next month's primary election ballot. 6 people are challenging her. A tentative agreement with California State University and the California Faculty Association has been ratified. The agreement includes a 5% salary increase for all faculty retroactive to July 1st of last year, and another 5% pay increase this July 1st, contingent on the state not reducing base funding to the CSU. It also increases paid parental leave from 6 to 10 weeks. CSU trustees still need to formally approve the terms. And a Pacific storm combined with a weak atmospheric river is making its way to San Diego County. The National Weather Service says up to an inch of rain per hour is expected overnight Tuesday. The heaviest rainfall is expected in North County and parts of East County. Sandbags are available to pick up throughout the county at community centers and some fire stations. And for a list of sandbag distributions as well as updates on this latest storm, visit our website. Head to kpbs.org/weather for the latest stories, as well as important safety reminders and resources for flood victims. Tomorrow, the Oceanside International Film Festival kicks off 5 days of films, discussions, and parties. KPBS cinema junkie Beth Accomando has this preview.
There are some topics you can always count on finding at the Oceanside International Film Festival, like surfing, as well as social and environmental activism. You can also count on good conversation. Opening night is dedicated to an in-depth discussion with musician and film and TV composer Jason Hill.
I really enjoy the film stuff because you can reinvent yourself constantly. Every time there's a new score, you want to do something totally different with new instruments, new this or that. I have to learn how to play new instruments constantly because it's just like, well, I don't want to repeat myself. I used wine glasses, played wine glasses for this show. And not that I'm only doing one thing, but it's like, well, I don't want to do those sounds for this thing. I want these to be. And so you're constantly sort of pushing yourself.
Hill scored Mindhunter for David Fincher. The Netflix show got into the heads of serial killers.
She said for 7 years, she said, I haven't had sex with a man because of you, my murderous son.
Because Mindhunter lived in this place that was in the mind. A lot of it does live in this mind of like thoughts. And so I thought the score should live in that same place. It should be this untangible thing that we can't touch. It comes in and out like the thoughts in our head do. Once I started sort of figuring that out, that sort of, it just started coming together.
If there's one thing I know, it's this. A mother should not scorn her own son.
Hill will provide insights into the creative process of scoring a film or show. Then Wednesday through Sunday, the festival focuses on its shorts and feature film programming. You can find cleverly executed horror stories featuring San Diego talent in The Mad Doctor of the Intercontinental Hotel, as well as wonderful surf documentaries from as far away as New Zealand with Dust. Feature films also have an international flavor with the screening of Those Were the Good Days from South Korea. Or if you want something homegrown, you can choose from the romantic drama To Fall in Love, or the horror and political satire of Hammond, or The Landlady Don't Drink Tea.
I want to find out where these bums are coming from. They're so tweaked, they're eating people.
We pay to live here at the mercy of that old lady, and if you don't like the way that she runs things, feel free to go live out on the streets and get your legs eaten.
The festival will take place at Oceanside's Brooks Theater. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Some good choices there. And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS Newsroom. NPR's Morning Edition previews a case going before the U.S. Supreme Court that could have significant impact on how cities deal with homelessness. And KPBS Midday Edition will have a discussion on Proposition 1 and its efforts to address mental health issues for the unhoused. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.